When Buddhism goes bad, whose fault is that? So I just read an article that's kind of becoming more and more prevalent. We're starting to see these things. The actual article is when Buddhism goes bad, and when um, sometimes gurus go bad, and the pitfalls of meditation, and all of this kind of stuff. Now, here's the problem as we read these articles, what you need to take away from that. This wasn't Buddhism going bad. What it was poor application of mindfulness meditation, not Buddhism. The difference between MBSR or MB, all the other different mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based cognitive balance, or whatever it is, mindfulness-based things, is it's been basically neutered from Buddhism. It does not have sila, it does not have the paramitas, it does not have these things to develop the knowledge and base so that your meditations will be deeper and more profound and more useful. If you're just sitting around, which is one of the things that happens in mindfulness, we sit around and focus on the breath, and when you stop focusing on the breath, what do you focus on? The next thought that comes up, and it takes practice, of course, to let it go, but we have to have something to get into. If we're not getting into something and using the practice to become more compassionate, to become more generous, to become more kind, to become less attached, then what are we doing? We're rolling around inside the own muck in our head and we get it all over us. And we end up ruminating, which is like what cows do. You know, they chew their cud. They spit something up and they chew it again and swallow it back down and spit it up and chew it again. That's what we do. That's what these people do. So when they say that meditation has gone bad, it's the practice, their practice and their application of a process that has worked spectacularly for over 2,600 years. And if you have no guru or nobody who's willing to help you, what's the other term that I've used before? The good friend is what is it called? I can't remember what it's called right now on the top of my head, but there's a term for the good Dharma friend or a sangha. A sangha is a group of people that get together and are working on the process of learning how to be better people, not being better Buddhists. Who gives a crap about that? Because being a Buddhist is your way of being a person, right? It's very humanistic. It's very being part of nature. This whole idea that it's somehow separate and that you need to do something different is nonsense. And people who are disparaging things like Buddhism or meditation or gurus and stuff like that, they need to look at themselves first. Now, there are bad gurus. There are bad applications of practice. There are bad understandings or unskillful understandings of the processes and the application. And that's why it is so important that we study. So how do you find someone like a tutor? You find someone who's either a monk or a nun or a minister or a priest that has done this for a while. Not someone who took, they were talking about, the article in here was talking about he's done 4,000 hours in the past 10 years of meditation. That's how much time a chicken sits to lay eggs. So what? That means nothing. The more time you put in, the more clicks you get on your card, the more stamps you have in your little booklet of meditation, don't matter. It's the quality of what you put into, the intention of what you put into, not the actual just sitting. Anybody can sit. A stone sits. This sits all day. This sits all day. It's no more enlightened. This is a piece of plaster. This is a piece of resin. This is a piece of, well, more plaster, I guess. So these are just things. We're not things. We're dynamic. We have those 5 aggregates, right? Those 5 aggregates are always moving. Those five aggregates are always doing something. They're attaching to the sense doors, right? All that stuff. They're attaching to the sense doors. They're bringing stuff in. They're moving things around. And we're trying to catch that process and have some input, if not control, over the way our mind reacts to things. Anyway, it's just quick. I just wanted to go over, this is not a very good article. It's a poorly written title at best. The title is terrible because it says when Buddhism goes bad. It never talks about Buddhism in there. Never talks about having a sangha, never talks about having a guru, never talks about having any kind of teacher, any kind of interaction with that. Someone who did MBSR or did the MBSR training, which is like 100 hours, a couple weeks, and then you do some training and you become a teacher. So what? It really doesn't mean anything if you're not training well, and you don't really deeply understand the purpose of meditation. What is the purpose of meditation? Purpose of meditation is, yeah, to achieve the jhanas, which is like, happiness and joy and release and all this kind of stuff. But there's so much more to that. You can't read the one sentence and go with that. You need to go much more deep. Okay. And in your practice, when you practice, it's your intention and it's your training, it's your understanding. And if you're coming up with more questions, that's the best, because you need more questions, because then, only then, do you get the idea to look. And when you get the idea to look, you can look in and out, and then you compare the two, and with those, you end up getting a, um, a way of being that's a little more gentle, a way of being that's a little more wise, that's a little more generous, that's a little less wrapped up in everything attached, right? Less wanting things to be different than they are, because you understand them. Now, of course, we can get into Taoism with this too, and we get into Stoicism, and we get into Zen Buddhism, Chan Buddhism, this kind of stuff. I was trained as a Chan priest, basically. And in that process, we had to do a lot of self-time, but we always did it with other people. Yes, we can go off into the forest and sit in a tree, or sit under a tree, or sit in an abandoned building, which is a very common thing. You find an abandoned, but this is in the sutras actually, is to find an abandoned building, a cave, or a tree, or some secluded place and sit. But that's not it. That's only a few sentences of all the sutras, which have to do with speaking with people and talking with people. And look at, like, for example, this is a weird example, but it's what came into my head. Remember, there's the woman whose child had died, right? And she brings it to the Brahmins, and the Brahmins are like, ha, 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 now we got the Buddha. We can trick him, and he'll say that he can fix the baby, and we know he can't. And then he'll be ridiculed by the public, and he'll lose, people lose faith in him. So she brings this baby that's dead and says, this is my only baby. What do I do? Did he say go and sit by yourself? No, he said, leave the baby with me. You bring me back one mustard seed for any of the houses, for any person that has not had death touch them. Anybody. Take as long as you want. Okay, but go and do this. So she was desperate. She went and she talked to every family. She noticed that everybody knew someone was dead. So she interacted with people. She started to understand that people were going through the same thing. She started having compassion for them, because she wanted them to feel better, because they would start to cry and all this kind of stuff, and they would all weep together, and she would have to console them. And she learned through action and through actual wisdom and actually development of wisdom through this lesson to come back and have no mustard seeds. And that's where she had the realization that death does affect everybody, and it's very difficult, of course, and she needs to move on and do something better with people that are here. So she asked the Buddha and them to help her bury the child, and she ended up becoming one of his disciples, one of the nuns. Anyway, this is Reverend Sean over at the Centered Path. The basic Buddhism is what we're going over here. I'm trying to get into and tackle some of the things that happen with people who are in meditation processes and have problems. Now, sometimes you have problems first and then you get into meditation. That can be a whole different thing, but sometimes you get into meditation and end up showing up with problems. That's also what we're going to tackle. Anyway, go ahead and subscribe, please, if you like this, and give us a thumbs up and comment. You can go on Reddit and look up Sitting Still 9, SITTING STILL 9. That's me. And we also have Beginning Buddhist on there. So come learn with us and learn how to do these things correctly. Now, I'm not the end all of that by any means. See these guys up through here? This is my class that I was going through, and those are my masters, and those are my teachers all in the front. Now, I have a bunch of different things like that. I've been all over the world with meditation and with Buddhism, and I've studied it since the early 80s, since I was a kid. I mean, early 80s, since I started in martial arts. That's where I started. That's where you can start too. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be a complete break. Let's do it step by step. It's an enjoyable process, and it makes the world a better place. Flavors are better, sights are brighter, smells are more fragrant in a good way, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, do your stuff. Let me know how you're doing in the bottom. If you've had this same kind of thing, let me know and give me some ideas on what to do meditation, or like how to change meditations for yourself if you're having certain problems. Like, people have already contacted me and said, hey man, I have like really bad depression and it comes up when I'm doing meditation. Some people have said when they do mushrooms and they meditate, they have other problems. So we're going to talk about those kind of things too, psychedelics and meditation of Buddhism and those kind of things. Talk to you later. Take care.